It's the plot line of several old westerns, but it's still alive today. Hi everybody, welcome to the county seat. I'm your host Chad Booth. Today we are going to discuss cattle rustling. No kidding. And the brand inspectors that protect the ranchers and livestock producers in Utah from cattle rustling. It's a broad range of subject. Let's find out a little bit about their program. We'll start with this report.
Cattle rustling isn't just the plot to several westerns. It's also one of the main concerns for the brand inspectors in the state of Utah. Having just received the Governor's Award for Excellence for reducing cattle and livestock thefts significantly, Utah's brand inspectors are ready to keep taking the fight to the thieves.
There's a number of us that have gone through post and are SFO certified, which is Special Functions Officer, which means while we're on duty, we can enforce agricultural law.
We do a lot of surveillance throughout Utah on the mountains and the deserts, where a lot of these animals run, to help prevent the theft of livestock. We work on our own appointments when we go out when we're called. Whenever we're called, we go to a facility and inspect cattle that are shipped out of state or change ownership.
For the most part, everybody gets along pretty well. You know, you get a few bad apples, but that's with any profession.
But brand inspectors do more than just prevent theft. They help keep track of animals and prevent mistakes. They also have a lot of fun.
My favorite part of the job, I'm supervise southern Utah, and I'm able to do that, travel the whole southern half of the state, and to meet the ranchers and mingle with the people in southern Utah. There's a lot of history in Utah, and in southern Utah especially, where the Robbers Roost area, for instance, where Butch Cassidy roamed in his cabins here in southern Utah. And so, yeah, just mingling with the ranchers and getting to know them and helping them with their problems and keeping things straight and theft out of their livestock. The main purpose is to make sure that the ranchers or individuals that own livestock own the livestock that they have. We try to keep things straight. Of course, anytime you have livestock, they get mixed up with other livestock, and there's a problem there of getting the right ownership. So we check brands to make sure that these animals are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. We go out when we haven't got inspections to do. We're out in the field, we're out in the mountains, we're out in the desert riding around. We got signs we also post out, and the information we get back, the ranchers have really enjoyed that. They've liked that. They know that we're in the area, and they know that we are looking out for their benefit. So that's been a really good program, and we recently got the Governor's Award for public service.
It's required to have a brand inspection every time livestock changes ownership. Within the state of Utah, you have to provide ownership traveling within the state. Anytime you cross state lines, there's a brand inspection or a travel permit required, and also health certificates, health papers.
We're going to learn a lot more about brand inspectors when we join our guest panel. For the county seat, I'm Cameron Porter.
Thank you. We are now up to speed on the program. Let's find out the scope of the problem, along with a few other things, as we continue our conversation here on the county seat. We'll be right back.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
Shopping in Davis County has never been better. Experience Station Park, Northern Utah's premier gathering place for shopping, dining, and entertainment. With over 100 shops, Station Park is something for the whole family. Or explore the shopping possibilities this season under one roof at the Layton Hills Mall. Both are conveniently located north of downtown Salt Lake, just off I-15. Come take advantage of special discounts and a wide selection of stores. Visit playindavis.com for more info. Color, it's something that can be seen. But have you ever wanted to reach out and touch it? Experience it. In San Juan County, Utah, color comes to life like nowhere else on earth. Color can be more than an abstract. Color can be your gateway to a new world. Visit San Juan County and explore the past, present, and future in a way that you've only dreamed of. San Juan County. Color your experience.
The Utah Farm Bureau has always been there to fight for the needs of its members, with discount programs on items ranging from vehicles and ATVs to health and wellness. The membership fees aren't big, but the results are. We've been around since 1916, and we're not leaving anytime soon. Utah Farm Bureau. We work for those who work to feed the world.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking about brand inspection, and joining us for our conversation today is Dale Ward. He's the Chief Deputy Sheriff of Box Elder County. We have Joey Furman, who is the President of the Utah Cattlemen's Association. Thank you for joining us. And we also have Cody James, who is the Chief of Brand Inspections for the Department of Agriculture and Food. Is that correct?
Correct.
There, you have another title, but it's too long to say.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. When we were contacted by Ag and Food saying, hey, have you ever thought about doing a show on brand inspecting? I went, okay, I know what a brand inspector is, but I thought cattle rustling was a thing of the past. You know, that's something that's in a John Wayne Western, but doesn't go on today. Is this really a significant, relevant problem?
It is, especially during times over the past couple of years where the price of cattle has been so high. We've seen a significant number of livestock theft through the western United States, as really we're still running on public ground, and it is still similar in that way to how it was in the Old West.
So how do you know when you're missing cattle? I mean, if you've got a lot of range, and I know yours is all private land, but it can't be that much different than the guys to the west of you, you know, on public allotments. How do you keep track of cows? Because it just seems like they're all over the place.
They are. We do have public range too on the Forest Service, and we never know when we're missing anything until we round them all up and corral them, and then each producer separates their own cattle, and they do that by brand. That's the main identification for those animals. So if you have 100 head up there, you should get 100 head back, and that's the way we keep track.
One of the things that we'll notice is that we start to get the reports of missing livestock during those times of the year where they're changing pasture, going from forest to desert things. So usually spring and fall is where we'll start to see those reports come in.
Now, do you think do you think those take place at that time, or that's just the time they're noticed?
That's the time that it's noticed. We had a very significant sheep theft in May of 2013, and that's exactly when the time was that we located these. Was they were moving them from the desert to the lambing grounds, and they were off on their count. So they immediately started looking for reasons that they were off on their count. Death loss is one of those. Predator loss is another. But these were too significant for any of those, and they couldn't find the carcasses.
How big a number was that?
650 head from 4 producers in Box Elder County.
What kind of I don't know what a mutton head is worth. So what kind of number is that?
For the 650 head, I think we were talking in the range of $250,000.
Holy smokes. That kind of loss could put a guy like you right out of business, couldn't it, Joey?
It could, very easily, you bet.
Huh. So how does the brand inspector work on this? How do you catch the bad guys?
Well, the first thing that we're trying to do, and what we've changed and made a priority since 2012, is to actually surveillance. We're spending our downtime, which is the time in between when they're moving, out there on the range, trying to see what's out there, being a force that's noticed, and hanging signs so people know how someone to contact. But in the situation where there is a theft or some missing livestock there, we try and work the best we can with county sheriffs, and we get up there and start to do some investigation. We start sending information to other states as well to have them be on the lookout, as well as ports of entries and also slaughter facilities with a description of what animals are missing, and try and get really an APB, so to speak, out to make sure that everybody's on the lookout for these animals.
I would like to see the description on the APB. I guess it would start with Hereford or Black Angus or something like that.
Something similar with the instance that Sheriff Ward's talking about is 650 white ewes with this brand on their back and the location. If they know the exact amount of different types of sex, male versus female and things like that, we'll put that out there. Anything that we would look at as proof of ownership on our side is what we'll try and describe that animal to the other folks so they can be on the lookout for it.
This gives us a chance to take a break, and I'd like to come back and ask a question about the actual branding process, because that's another thing that is still kind of a carryover from the Old West, and we'll continue our conversation right here on the County Seat. We'll be right back.
When the road takes you farther than you knew possible, when the world is more beautiful than you've ever seen, when home is more comfortable than it should be, this is when you know you're in Kane County. The perfect mix of rural and urban, culture and adventure. Glendale, Orderville, Kanab, Bigwater, small towns with more to offer than just peace and quiet. Kane County, Utah. Find the new you.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
Welcome back to the County Seat. We are talking about brand inspection, the function in the Department of Agriculture and Food that goes out and basically tracks down the health of the cattle industry and the honesty of the cattle industry or the livestock industry here in the state of Utah. So we kind of left the conversation at brands being part of the identification. Part of your function is actually to register brands, like the little mark you put on the cattle, kind of like a trademark.
Correct.
And so you keep a registry of those?
We do. We have every brand that's ever been recorded in the state of Utah since statehood is actually kept at our office, and we keep the records on that. And anytime somebody wants to get a brand or have one registered, they'd have to work through us, and we'd have to approve that, and then that would show ownership of that animal once they put that brand on that animal in their certain location.
Okay, so now we're going back to the old westerns. All right, you've seen it on Rawhide and the Rifleman and all those shows where you got the bad guy out there who comes up with a clever brand that looks just like the really successful cattle rancher, but it has a couple other marks, and then they go and rebrand the cattle. Does that happen, or does your approval of a brand kind of fall along those lines?
As we're approving brands, we do try to make sure as best we can that it's not too similar or it's not too easy to change that brand. This last time we did renewals, we had about a little over 15,000 brands and earmarks within the state. So as you can imagine, it gets really tough to not have people with an S brand, too many people with an S brand or whatever that situation may be. But we do try our best to make sure that they're not too similar. But as you mentioned, we do have some cases where people are still doing that. We actually just have finished a case here in Utah where we did find that someone was putting their brand over their neighbor's brand. So it is still going on.
Wow. Have you encountered that?
Absolutely. And there was a case, one case actually that pops into my mind that occurred in Idaho, where they actually took the brand off of the livestock. They actually skinned the livestock and took the brand off of it to let it heal up and sell it as a slick animal, meaning no brand at all.
Wow. So that raises another question. When somebody goes to auction, or because part of what your department does is also monitor all the sales. So basically anytime an auction happens, a truck's leaving the state, brand inspectors are involved in looking at the brands.
Correct. Yeah, our job as brand inspectors on the inspection side of things is to make sure that only the owner of that livestock is the one making the decisions, whether it's going to slaughter, going to be sold, or leaving the state to go to other pasture. And so if in a situation where there's only one brand on it, it's that owner's brand, that's a pretty easy way to tell that. In situations where there might be multiple brands, or if there's a slick animal that doesn't have a brand, we'll actually start to ask for some other forms of ownership, whether they got a brand inspection from us prior from another state, or if they bought it at an auction, if they've got an invoice or things like that.
So basically it's like a car, you got to have a bill of sale to license it.
Yeah, not necessarily bill of sale. We don't necessarily like that term because we want to make sure that we're the ones looking at it, and we've actually had some cases where people have forged bills of sales, as you can imagine, where we've had to backtrack and go that direction. So the brand inspection is what we like to see, although there's some other forms of identification that we'll accept.
I was just trying to put it in a way that people can understand.
I understand, yep.
So is it, part of me goes, the rancher would look at this and say, this is a big inconvenience. Every time I want to sell a cow, I got to call him. Do you see that as a problem, Joey?
I don't see it as a problem or inconvenience. It's the best way there is to track those animals and make sure that everything's legitimate with them when they're sold.
So most of you guys are in favor of their kind of tight fist control over your sale of the animals?
Definitely, definitely. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think that Joe would agree with this. He wouldn't mind having a sheriff's deputy stop him and his trailer loaded with livestock to make sure that it's him transporting that livestock.
That's true. Very true.
That leads me to another question. How much do you guys rely on those guys, the local sheriffs?
We actually, with Box Elder County, we actually have a great relationship, and they have a couple of deputies that we have really good relationships that are actually doing some of those stops for us and checking on things there. That for the most part, as far as identification of the animals and stopping that, and also the health side, we're relying on ourselves. We're the ones that are doing the stops more than likely. Usually we come to the counties when there is a for sure theft, and we try and work together in that way. But any help that we can get from the counties that we'd love to have, and Box Elder County has been a great example of that.
The public, the bill in the last legislative session that set up the criteria for law enforcement on public land, if the transfer of public lands were to take place, listed brand inspectors as a co-equal law enforcement on the range in conjunction with the sheriff. And there were a lot of people around the state that said, no, the sheriff's got to be the ultimate authority. But it seems like the two groups themselves are very comfortable with this arrangement.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, and I would be in agreement that I think that the sheriff's office is going to be that main focus of law enforcement there. One of the things that I think, and Dale would agree with this as well, is that of the two law enforcement agencies that people are dealing with in those settings, the brand inspection and the sheriff's office are the most trusted, the ones that people are willing to see out there and work with.
Absolutely. And the Department of Ag's investigator, livestock investigator, is a former sheriff from Juab County. So he has an excellent working relationship with all the sheriff's offices in the state. So, I mean, it's just a great marriage, really.
So one of the other things that is a significant part of your job is to check for disease. And of course, we all hear about mad cow and what is it that the buffalo carry around?
Brucellosis.
Yes, so is that part of, how big a part of your job is that?
It's a pretty big part of it. Obviously, the main portion is the theft and the ownership portion of it, but we do have an opportunity and are actually required to make some stops and to look at things. There's some identificational ways, ear tags and such, that we can tell if animals have been tested or treated for disease. Disease is probably a lot bigger threat to the livestock industry, as we're talking about brucellosis or trick in bulls, trichomoniasis in bulls, things that we're looking at to make sure that producers are following those regulations as well, because it protects the whole livestock industry in the state as well.
Whenever we sell calves, we need a brand certificate inspection and also a health certificate inspection from a licensed veterinarian. So they are double checked, and that's good. That's good for our standpoint and also for the buyer.
So looking at the business side, I'm not sure what a calf brings on the market. I guess you usually sell them in pairs, a cow calf? Or
no, usually sell the calves.
How much of the cost does it take to get it certified and inspected and everything?
It's minimal. It is. It's not very costly to do that. It's on a per head basis, and what it costs to do that and what could happen far offsets any expense.
You know, and at the Department of Ag, we try really hard to make sure that we're not putting any undue stress or monetary stress on the producers. We're trying really hard to increase our program, to hire more full-time people, and without charging the producers anymore. Prices have gone down quite a bit over the last year or two from record highs, but we've tried to keep everything internal and not raise fees or anything that would hurt the producer, but still look internally to where we can grow our program and get more full-time people to protect them as well.
Excellent. Well, this is a good place for us to take a break. We're talking about brand inspection and the many varied things that happen in the livestock industry that you and I don't even think about except when we watch old westerns. We'll be right back with more of the County Seat in just a minute.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own Discover Local Food.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and inventor Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers, Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, Ghost Towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco Kilns, horse races, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
Welcome back to the County Seat. We're talking about brand inspection through the Department of Agriculture and Food. I understand, I have this news release right here. I understand that you guys got some kudos recently in your department.
We did. The Brand Bureau actually won the Governor's Award for Excellence this last year. We finally were recognized, our employees, for the work that they've done. They, over the past couple of years, have reduced the amount of missing livestock in the state of Utah, and we've done it in a way that has not cost anybody any more money. We've actually just gone out and done our job the best that we can, and it's kind of come out that we have reduced the amount of theft in the state, and also that the people are in more compliance, and it's worked out well for the ranchers.
How big of an impact has that made? What kind of a drop have we seen?
We saw about a 66% drop between 2013 and 2015. Earlier you heard Dale talk about the high number of sheep and things, and actually last year, from going almost pushing 1,000 head to we was actually under 300 head that were reported missing last year.
Holy smokes. You guys also cover horses, right?
Correct, we do.
Absolutely.
So horses require branding before they're, and inspection before they go to market?
Yes, yeah, they do have to have a brand inspection before they go to market or be sold. They do, we don't necessarily require them to be branded unless they're out on public range where they're going to be grazing. And most folks in the state of Utah obviously have their horses in a pasture in their corral in the back, and so we don't necessarily have them brand, but we do require brand inspection for those horses.
Excellent. So as a last minute takeaway, I want to ask, because there'll be people sitting here along the Wasatch Front, they'll go, oh, this is all very well, but of what impact is this to me? I live in the city, and these guys obviously are very rurally focused. What's the connection?
Bottom line is if the folks here on the Wasatch Front enjoy going to the grocery store and having a selection off of the shelf in the meat case, we're doing our job, they have that.
Yeah, I'd like to add that we're doing our job as cattle producers to make sure that those consumers have a safe product that isn't contaminated by any drugs. We make sure that everything is kept the way it should be, antibiotic use to a minimum. If the cattle have been subject to antibiotics, we make sure that they are separated from the others, and we want to produce a good quality, healthy product for the consumer.
Yeah, and I think both of what these gentlemen have said comes home to roost along the Wasatch Front. One thing I don't think that people realize is how important agriculture is to the state of Utah. Statewide, 25 of our 29 counties, their biggest income, their biggest money comes from livestock agriculture in the state of Utah, and it brings in over billions and billions of dollars, and you see that going to a local grocery store or anything here on the Wasatch Front. There's a lot of local beef that's coming back into here based on that. People like Joe can make a living doing that, and folks like our sheriff's offices, Dale, are doing their job to make sure that they're protected and they're getting that product to the stores.
And I know our governor really supports the idea of self-sustainability. So, gentlemen, thank you. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for joining us each week on the County Seat. Remember, local government is where your life happens. Be informed, be involved, be part of the solution. We'll look for you next week on the County Seat. If you'd like to share this video with your friends, well, you do that right here. If you would like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you do that over here. If you'd like to interact with us on the County Seat, that happens over here. If you want to watch the next episode of the County Seat, you can catch it Saturday night at 11 or Sunday morning at 8:30 on ABC4 Good for Utah.